The void shimmered with the quiet hum of engines as Admiral Korath stood at the viewport of the Zarith Dominion's flagship, Velanthath Prime. His eyes, slitted, reptilian, fixed on the blue-green sphere rotating in the distance. "Earth," he hissed. The word tasted like ash. A primitive world, barely united, barely armed. And yet, he trailed off, unwilling to speak the thought aloud. And yet no campaign against them has succeeded. Behind him, General Threx clanked forward in his battle armor. "Admiral, the fleet is ready. 200 warships, fresh from the dockyards. Enough to burn their world to cinders." His voice was metallic, every syllable confident, but edged with unease. "Surely, no human trick can stand against such strength." Korath's frill twitched. "No human trick, you say? Tell that to the Orathi Armada, vaporized in ambush. Or the Kelari Swarm, lured into the asteroid fields. Or the Draxan Legions, broken by..." He stopped, his jaw tightening. "By nothing more than plans," Threx finished bitterly. "Human strategy. I have studied their campaigns, Admiral. They fight like no other species. They bait. They feign weakness. They turn every battlefield into their own. Which is why," Korath said coldly, "we strike with overwhelming force. They cannot outthink fire that consumes everything." A silence followed, thick as the void. On Earth, far below the orbiting menace, Commander Elena Veira watched the sky feeds from the defense bunker. 35 years old, lean, with dark eyes that never blinked when pressure mounted, she looked more professor than soldier. That was the mistake most opponents made, assuming she was merely an analyst. She lived for those mistakes. "They're massing," said Lieutenant Harrow, a younger officer with a scar across his cheek. "Dominion formation, wedge style, central flagship, standard Zarith doctrine, direct and brutal." Elena smirked. "Predictable. That's their first mistake." Harrow blinked. "First?" "They'll make more," she said, calm as still water. Her gaze drifted to the holographic map, the red dots representing enemy ships dwarfing the scattered blue of Earth's defenses. By raw numbers, humanity should be crushed in hours. But numbers had never beaten her species. Strategy had. The first hook of the war came not from fleets colliding, but from the enemy's arrogance. Korath ordered the Dominion to descend in a blazing wall, ships cutting through Earth's orbit like a knife. They broadcast across open channels, their guttural language translated into crude threats. "Humans of Earth, surrender. Your strategies are irrelevant. Your defenses, pathetic. You will be reduced to ash, as all who resist the Dominion are." Elena leaned closer to the comms. "Open a channel." When her voice carried back across the stars, it was not fear the enemy heard, but amusement. "Dominion forces," she said evenly. "I suggest you turn around. History should have already taught you this lesson. No army survives against human strategy." Laughter filled the Dominion bridge. Korath bared his fangs in something halfway between mockery and anger. "She mocks us!" Threx's armor hissed as he leaned forward. "Or she warns us, Admiral. And humans are the only species I've seen whose warnings are more dangerous than their threats." Korath dismissed the thought with a growl. "Advance. Erase them." The battle began in silence. No flashy bombardments, no roaring volleys. Instead, Earth's orbital platforms shut down their lights, drifting dark. Civilian satellites went quiet. The planet looked defenseless, eerily still. Threx frowned at his scanners. "No resistance?" Korath sneered. "Cowards. They've hidden their toys. Destroy their orbital layer." The Dominion fleet surged. But as the first line of battleships advanced, their sensors blinked, glitched, and froze. The field of debris, what they thought were broken satellites, came alive. Thousands of objects flickered with hidden thrusters, moving in coordinated swarms. Not weapons, not ships, drones. "Adaptive drones," Harrow explained in the bunker, his eyes wide as he watched them strike. "They've reprogrammed every satellite, every piece of space junk. It's a minefield. Elena nodded, expression unreadable. No, Lieutenant. It's a chessboard. The first explosions ripped through the Dominion vanguard. Shields buckled, ships staggered, and formation dissolved. The fleet tried to counter, firing at the small darting objects, but each destroyed drone caused another to shift, adapt, and redirect. It wasn't enough to destroy the Dominion, not yet. Elena didn't intend it to be. "Admiral!" Threx barked. "Their swarm is forcing us into tighter formation. We're clumping together." Korrath snapped. "Hold the line, burn the debris, clear us a path." But Elena had predicted that order hours before he gave it. She tapped the map. "They'll cluster, herded like cattle, and then..." She gestured. Earth's rail platforms, previously hidden behind the electromagnetic shroud of the drones, lit up in perfect synchronization. Massive tungsten slugs, accelerated to impossible velocities, screamed into the cluster of Dominion ships. The fleet shook under the bombardment. 3 ships shattered instantly. 4 more staggered, their hulls ripped apart like paper. On the Velanth Prime, alarms howled. "Admiral!" Threx roared. "We're walking into their plan!" Korrath's frill flared. For the first time, he felt doubt creep like frost in his veins. In the bunker, Harrow exhaled. "Direct hits, 7 down, dozens damaged, but they still outnumber us 20-1. "Of course," Elena said quietly. She never raised her voice, even when everyone else was shouting. "That's the point." Harrow looked at her, confused. "The point?" She finally allowed herself a smile. "The Dominion believes wars are won by firepower. They don't understand that wars are won by decisions. Every move they make, we've already seen. And every answer we give will cost them more than they can afford." Above, in the storm of burning ships, Korrath's hands shook. He stared at the chaos, and the phrase returned. Unbidden. Poisonous. No army survives against human strategy. The first mistake had been arrogance. The second, assumption. And the third, he feared, was already unfolding, hidden in the silence of his enemy's calm commander. And as Earth's first counterstrike tore through his fleet, he realized something chilling. This was not a desperate defense. This was the opening move. The Dominion flagship's command deck seethed with tension. The aftershocks of the first rail slugs still trembled in the hull plating. Admiral Korrath dug his claws into the console until sparks leapt from the metal. "Stabilize formation," he barked. "All ships converge on the rail platforms. We crush their artillery, then the planet." General Threx's visor glowed red, scanning incoming data. "Admiral, the rail platforms are spread across orbital bands. We'll have to split our forces." "Then split them," Korrath snarled. "No scattered toys can hold against us." But even as the orders left his mouth, the uneasy voice inside him whispered, "This is what they want." In Earth's underground bunker, Commander Elena Veira leaned over the glowing table map. Her officers clustered close, tension thick as recycled air. "They're dividing," Lieutenant Harrow reported, eyes darting over sensor readouts. "Half the fleet moving toward low orbit, half climbing toward the geosynchronous ring." "Predictable," Elena murmured. "Predictable?" Harrow repeated. "That's 200 ships, Commander." Elena tapped the map with a steady finger. "And none of them understand that every inch of orbit is already prepared. The trap isn't the drones. It isn't the rails. It's the choices they think are theirs to make." Her words were calm, but the officers felt their weight. Humans had prepared every possible Dominion decision, and every Dominion mistake. In high orbit, the first half of Korrath's fleet accelerated toward the geosynchronous band. What looked like isolated rail stations hung against the void. The Dominion gunners charged their main cannons, eager for vengeance. The first shots lanced out, burning the stations to molten shards. Korrath's forward commanders cheered. "See?" one captain boasted across comms. "Primitive defenses, nothing." Then the wreckage shifted. Panels spear. Slugs tore through descending battleships. One exploded in a sunburst of metal and plasma, showering wreckage into the upper atmosphere. "Admiral," Threx growled, "they're herding us. Every move we make, they counter not with strength, but with anticipation. Korath slammed his fist down. Then strike where they cannot anticipate. Full fleet, regroup and press straight for their command bunker. We cut off the head, the body dies. Threx hesitated. If you can find the head. Back on Earth, Harrow exhaled in disbelief as he watched the Dominion split, stumble, and bleed. It's working. Both wings are in chaos. We've crippled at least a dozen capital ships. Not enough, Elena replied. Her gaze never left the map. Numbers will grind us down if we let this become a war of attrition. We need them to make the fatal mistake. Harrow frowned. Fatal? Elena's expression hardened. The Dominion will turn toward what they believe is our command nexus. They will concentrate everything to kill me. That's the trap within the trap. You want them to attack here? I need them to, she corrected softly. Sure enough, minutes later, the Dominion flagship's comms erupted with fresh orders. All ships, regroup on the flagship. Plot a course for the planetary command hub. End this war in a single strike. Across the scattered fleet, battered ships turned, igniting engines, dragging their wounded comrades with tractor beams. Slowly, painfully, the Dominion massed again, into a single spear, thrusting downward. On the Velanth Prime, Korath felt the first stirrings of triumph. Now we end their games! But Threx's voice cut through like a blade. Admiral! If she wants us to strike there, Korath whirled on him, eyes blazing. Enough doubt. We are the Dominion. No prey survives us. Not even these humans. Deep underground, Elena watched the spear of red ships descend to Ware, to her position. Officers fidgeted nervously, the bunker walls trembling with distant impacts. Harrow swallowed. If their entire fleet targets us, then they've given up on the war, Elena said. Her tone was cool, but her eyes burned with something fiercer than confidence. Inevitability. Harrow whispered, I don't understand. You will, Elena said. She placed her hand against the console, her voice low. The Dominion thinks they're chasing the head of the snake, but they don't understand humanity. We're not a snake. We're the trap itself. As the Dominion fleet plunged into the upper atmosphere, their sensors picked up the bunker's energy signature. They descended in a roaring wall, weapons primed, ready to obliterate the command nexus in one strike. Except the signature wasn't a bunker. It was a transmitter. The real bunker sat deep beneath the ocean floor, sealed away under kilometers of rock and pressure. The command hub the Dominion had locked onto was nothing more than a projection, an electromagnetic lure designed to scream like a beacon. By the time Korath realized, it was too late. The sky erupted. Thousands of concealed rail batteries, hidden beneath the decoy's field, opened fire in perfect unison. Slugs streaked upward, tearing through the clustered Dominion fleet, as if they were paper lanterns in a hurricane. Ships split, fireballs consumed cruisers, and shockwaves cracked the air. One after another, Dominion warships died in flame. The trap had sprung. On the Velanth Prime, chaos reigned. Alarms shrieked. Smoke filled the bridge. Korath staggered to his feet, eyes wild. She... His voice broke into a snarl. She knew! She led us here! General Threx's armored hand tightened on the railing. Admiral, this is no war. This is execution. In the bunker, Harrow stared at the burning sky feed, jaw slack. Half their fleet gone. In minute, Elena nodded once, her expression unreadable. And the other half will not survive what comes next. The Dominion fleet burned above Earth, pieces of shattered warships streaking across the upper atmosphere like dying stars. For the first time in generations, the galaxy's most feared empire bled openly. On the Velanth Prime, Admiral Korath clawed at the command console, forcing his trembling voice steady. Stabilize. Regroup what remains. This war is not yet lost. But General Threx's armored frame loomed close, visor flickering with data. Admiral, half our fleet is gone. Our formations are shredded. Engines failing. Shields depleted. We are fighting not an enemy, but inevitability. Korath snarled, teeth bared. No army survives against human strategy. Is that it? Do you believe that cursed phrase? Threx's silence was answer enough. In the Earth bunker, Commander Elena Veira remained unnervingly calm. The war map before her glowed with shrinking clusters of red. They've suffered catastrophic losses, Lieutenant Harrow said, awe breaking through his voice. Half their fleet destroyed. If they retreat now, they won't, Elena interrupted. Harrow blinked. Won't? They'd be insane to stay. They are the Dominion, Elena replied. Retreat is worse than defeat. They'll throw every last ship into this battle rather than face dishonor at home. And that desperation, her eyes narrowed, is the final trap. The Dominion's comms erupted with panicked reports. Engines failing! Requesting escort! Shields collapsing! Pull back, Admiral! They're herding us into their firing arcs! Korath bared his fangs, silencing them with a roar. Enough! You are Dominion! You will fight until your ships burn around you! Threx stepped forward, voice low but heavy. Admiral, they are not fighting ships. They are fighting us. Every decision we make, they've already placed a counter for. If we advance, they cut us down. If we retreat, they chase. If we scatter, they isolate. Tetias, this is not war, it is slaughter. Korath turned on him, eyes blazing. Then give me another path. Threx hesitated. There is only one. Strike at their mind. Their commander. Whoever orchestrates this madness. Elena anticipated that too. They'll come for me, she told her staff, her voice calm, as though announcing the weather. It's the only move left that feels like agency to them. They'll convince themselves I'm vulnerable. Harrow shifted uneasily. But if they breach the bunker, they won't, Elena said simply. Not because our walls are strong, but because they will never find me where they think I am. Her lips curved faintly. Their desperation blinds them, and blindness is the sharpest blade of all. Korath slammed his claws against the console, eyes bloodshot. Pinpoint the human commander's location. Admiral, Threx said, we've already been fooled once. Their bunker was a phantom. Find her, Korath bellowed. If she is flesh and blood, she can be broken. The Dominion sensors swept across Earth, piercing oceans, mountains, and continents. At last, they locked onto another hub, an encrypted nexus hidden deep in the Andes Mountains. Korath's voice shook with savage triumph. There, prepare ground assault divisions. If their sky burns us, then we take them on the dirt. Dropships roared from the Dominion carriers, black spears stabbing through the atmosphere. Thousands of armored soldiers descended toward the mountains, weapons primed to carve humanity's command to pieces. Elena watched their descent with chilling patience. Commander, Harrow whispered, they've committed ground troops. What if they reach me? Elena finished. Then they'll find nothing but ghosts. Harrow stared. You gave them a false ground target? Of course, Elena said. Every time they think they've found me, they spend lives and resources chasing shadows. While they run in circles, their fleet rots in orbit. In the Andes, Dominion soldiers stormed the decoy bunker. Explosives shattered reinforced doors, legions poured inside, only to find it empty. No humans, no command hub, only steel corridors wired with explosives. The mountain erupted in fire. Whole platoons disintegrated. Dropships crumpled like paper in the shockwave. The Dominion troops who survived barely had time to scream before automated drones swept in, cutting them down with surgical precision. On the Velanth Prime, Korath's claws drew blood from his palms. Twice fooled. Twice. Threx's deep voice was grim. 3 times, Admiral. The real trap is not the bunkers. It is our refusal to see beyond them. Korath trembled, rage and despair mixing like poison. Then what do you suggest? Threx turned his gaze to the burning war map. Admit the truth. Humanity fights with a weapon we do not possess. A weapon we may never possess. Korath spat the words. Strategy. Back in the bunker, Harrow approached Elena cautiously. Commander, why not finish them now? Our rail platforms could shatter what remains of their fleet. Why let them linger? Elena's eyes stayed fixed on the sky feed, where Dominion ships crawled like wounded animals. Because the lesson isn't complete, she said softly. The lesson? She turned to him, voice firm. Fear. The galaxy watches this war. If we crush the Dominion in an instant, they will tell themselves it was chance. Superior numbers, offset. Unfortunate conditions. But if they die, piece by piece, falling into trap after trap, the galaxy will learn the truth. No army survives against human strategy. Not ever. Above Earth, the Dominion fleet writhed. Scattered. Broken. Every regrouping attempt met with precision strikes. Every retreat harried by fighters. Every advance punished by rails. It was death, not as a single blow, but as 1,000 cuts. On the flagship, Threx at last removed his helm, revealing a scarred face hardened by decades of war. He stared at Korath with something almost like pity. We were never fighting humans, he said quietly. We were fighting inevitability. Korath's eyes burned with defiance. I will not surrender. Threx's voice was low, but final. Then you will die. And in the Earth bunker, Elena Veira closed her eyes for a brief moment. For all her cold composure, she allowed herself one whisper, so soft none of her officers heard. It's already over! The Dominion fleet looked nothing like the proud armada that had entered Earth's orbit. Where once 200 warships glowed with menace, fewer than 80 now limped through fire-scorched void. Admiral Korath stood rigid on the Velanth Prime's bridge, smoke curling from shattered conduits. His voice was raw from shouting, his eyes bloodshot with sleepless rage. Form into battle wedge, he barked. We strike at their rail platforms directly. Shields forward, weapons hot. If we burn through them. But the wedge never formed. Ships refused orders, some crippled, others refusing to dive once more into the human gauntlet. The Dominion chain of command, once absolute, cracked under the weight of failure. Admiral, a trembling voice came over comms. Our engines are failing. Shields at 20%. Another charge will... Korath silenced the officer with a roar. But the truth couldn't be hidden. His fleet was collapsing, and not from firepower alone. In the bunker beneath the ocean floor, Commander Elena Veira's team tracked every flicker of red on the war map. The Dominion formation, once tight and threatening, now sagged like a web full of holes. Lieutenant Harrow leaned forward, disbelief plain on his face. They're breaking apart. Some ships aren't even responding to orders. It looks like mutiny. Elena's lips curved into the faintest smile. Not mutiny. Realization. The first cracks in their doctrine. Dominion soldiers are trained to obey unto death. But what happens when they realize obedience only leads to death faster? Her voice hardened. The strategy is not to kill their fleet. It's to kill their belief in victory. On the flagship, General Threx confronted Korath in full view of the command crew. Admiral, Threx rumbled, your orders are madness. Every maneuver fits their traps. Every strike strengthens them. Humanity is not fighting us in space. They are fighting us in the mind. And we are losing. Silence! Korath spat, his frill flaring with rage. Would you have us crawl back to the Dominion like beaten animals? Our honor! Our honor! Threx cut him off. His scarred face twisted with fury. Our honor is ash. You have led us into execution. Look around you. Does this look like war or slaughter? The crew shifted uneasily. Some looked at Threx with respect. Others at Korath with fear. For the first time in his career, Korath felt authority slipping through his claws. Earth's rail platforms thundered again. Slugs tearing through another Dominion cruiser. Explosions blossomed in the sky, raining molten fragments into the sea. Harrow exhaled, His voice hushed. They're finished. Just look at them. But Elena's gaze stayed sharp. Never underestimate the dying. Desperation makes an enemy unpredictable. Korath will not accept collapse quietly. He will choose a final, reckless gambit. Her words proved prophetic within the hour. Korath slammed his claws into the map, blood spattering the console. His voice cracked, a beast cornered. If they want strategy, then let them choke on fire. All ships converge on Earth's surface. Burn their cities, their oceans, their skies. If their commander is not destroyed, we will still make her victory worthless. Threx's eyes widened. You would slaughter billions in blind rage? Yes! Korath roared. His voice echoed through the bridge. If we cannot win, then humanity will never claim victory. They will inherit only ruins. The order rippled out. Broken as they were, the remaining Dominion ships turned their cannons downward. Vast plasma banks charged, bright as newborn suns. Commander, Harrow gasped. They're targeting Earth itself. Not the platforms, not the decoys. Everything. Elena's gaze darkened. This was what she had feared. An enemy too beaten to play by the rules. Signal the deep shield, she ordered. A second later, the oceans themselves shimmered. Massive satellites hidden beneath the waves powered up, projecting an electromagnetic shield around the planet's most vulnerable population centers. When the Dominion fired, entire barrages splashed harmlessly against the invisible barriers, scattering like rain against glass. But not everywhere. Rural regions, unshielded coasts, those burned. Human lives were lost. The bunker trembled with the weight of sacrifice. Elena's jaw clenched. Every shield has a cost. Every life lost buys us the time we need. On the Velanth Prime, Korath's triumphant sneer faltered when the shields held. What is this? Threx's voice was grim. The end, Admiral. You've thrown everything at them. And yet they endure. Because while we built fleets, he turned toward Korath, eyes cold. They built foresight. The crew stared. The truth could no longer be ignored. Their empire's greatest fleet, brought low not by weapons, but by a single mind. Elena stepped away from the console, voice cutting through the silence in the bunker. It's time! Harrow turned to her, startled. Time? For what? For the finishing stroke, Elena said. She pressed her hand to the console. Patch me to their comms. A moment later, her voice filled the Dominion channels, calm and precise, slicing deeper than any rail slug. Admiral Korath, you have failed. You've lost ships, soldiers, and honor. Strike again if you like. Every shot only proves my point. The Dominion will remember this day not as a battle, but as a demonstration. No army survives against human strategy. Not yours. Not any. Her words carried not arrogance, but inevitability. The Dominion fleet wavered. Some captains cut engines. Others began retreat maneuvers without orders. The iron discipline of the Dominion, forged over centuries, cracked apart in seconds. On the Velanth Prime, Korath's hands shook, his voice breaking into a hoarse whisper. They fear her more than me. Threx's armor hissed as he turned away. Not fear, Admiral. Clarity. And with that, the Dominion began to collapse. Not from firepower, but from belief itself. In the bunker, Harrow whispered, awestruck. You broke them. Without leaving this room, you broke them. Elena didn't look at him. Her gaze remained fixed on the retreating red markers. Her voice was quiet, but resolute. This war was never about numbers. It was about teaching the galaxy a truth they can never forget. Her hand closed into a fist. And tomorrow, the galaxy will wake up knowing the Dominion is mortal. The Imperial War Council had gathered aboard their flagship, Dreadsun, a Leviathan warship bristling with weapons capable of razing entire continents. Hundreds of officers, admirals and analysts crowded the command amphitheater, its dome-shaped ceiling flickering with projections of the Terran fleet's movements. The supreme commander of the Kravel Dominion, Arch-Warlord Sithor-Kael, slammed his clawed fist on the armrest of his throne. Their numbers dwindle, their ships break apart under our fire, yet they do not scatter. Why? Why do humans persist when logic dictates retreat? The chamber fell silent. For once, no subordinate dared to answer. At the far end of the council chamber, Admiral Threx raised his voice cautiously. Because, my lord, they are not retreating. They are herding us. Sithor snarled. Herding us? Do you hear yourself? We command the largest fleet ever assembled. But the holographic projection shifted, the galaxy-scale battle forming a pattern visible only now. Red Imperial markers clustered in tight formations, following the humans' apparent withdrawals. Green Terran blips shifted with uncanny precision, guiding them into narrower corridors of space. The realization spread like a virus through the chamber. They're shaping the battlefield, whispered one strategist. Every withdrawal we believed was weakness. Every loss was deliberate positioning. On the TSS Valiant, Captain Elias Vey stood at the center of his bridge, eyes locked on the tactical display. Around him, his crew worked in tense silence, the hum of consoles punctuated by clipped confirmations. Outer decoy fleet reporting full collapse, the comms officer said. Dominion forces are pressing forward exactly as projected. Vey nodded once. Good. Signal the flanking wings. Phase 2 begins now. Through the viewport, the void shimmered. Hidden among debris fields and radii. Xion clouds, vast arrays of human warships powered up, their stealth fields collapsing in unison. The Dominion fleet, pressed into the narrowing gauntlet, now found itself encircled. Trap complete, murmured Commander Rin, his first officer. Back aboard Dreadsun, alarm screamed. Tactical projections bloomed with sudden emerald signatures on every flank. Human vessels, previously unseen, materialized like ghosts with cannons already locked on target. Sithor-Kael rose from his throne, eyes wide with fury. Impossible! How could they mask such numbers? Admiral Threx's scales dulled with despair. Because, my lord, they studied us. They learned where our sensors falter. They understood how to bait our formations. We thought ourselves hunters. We were cattle. The first salvo struck. Human rail lances pierced through Dominion dreadnoughts, their cores venting molten plasma into space. Carrier groups were annihilated before fighters could launch. Communications dissolved into static and screams. On the Valiant, Captain Vey remained calm. Maintain crossfire nets. Do not allow their ships escape vectors. They'll fight to the last, Commander Rin said grimly. That's what they always do, Vey replied. And that's why no army survives against human strategy. Because we don't just fight battles, we shape inevitability. Hours passed like heartbeats. What had begun as a siege turned into extermination. Pockets of Dominion resistance fought with suicidal ferocity, but every countermeasure had been anticipated, mapped, and counter-read. Their numerical advantage dissolved into chaos, every maneuver cut off before it could form. Finally, only the Dreadsun remained. Wreckage floated in all directions, glowing embers in the endless black. Sithor-Kael stood at the center of his ruined command deck, smoke and fire choking the air. He looked out at the stars, and for the first time in his life, he felt something alien to his kind. Not rage, not pride. Fear. A channel opened across all frequencies. Captain Vey's voice, steady and resolute, filled the chamber. Arch-Warlord Sithor-Kael, your fleet is destroyed. Your dominion lies defenseless. The war ends tonight. Sithor bared his fangs, defiant to the end. You think this is victory? You humans are fragile. You will break in the long war. Vey's reply was quiet, lethal. You mistake us again. We don't endure long wars. We end them. The transmission cut. The Valiant fired its final barrage, and the Dreadsun, symbol of Dominion supremacy, was torn apart in a blinding eruption. Silence fell across the galaxy. Word of the slaughter spread faster than light. Whisper networks. Intercepted comms. Captured survivors. No army, no empire, no predator species dared contest it. Humanity had proven what every strategist now feared to admit. Numbers, size, and firepower meant nothing against minds that bent battle itself into a weapon. On every world, one phrase lingered like a specter. No army survives against human strategy. If you enjoyed this HFY sci-fi story, make sure to subscribe to the Void Narratives for more tales of humanity's cunning, resilience, and terrifying brilliance among the stars.